So what was it we were saying? Ah, yes, that when you stir something
Mm-hmm.
universal, yes,
Yeah.
you label it what you want. God, Jesus, power of the biome. Yeah, it doesn't matter. All labels lead to the same C, let's say. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if we look at a human perspective on that, yes, where
Mm-hmm.
we look at just human perspective,
Mm-hmm.
all of these lights in individuals, yes,
Yeah.
are all there burning, whether choose to be ignored. So people talk about Lemurial, yes,
Yeah.
and tell you that it's a past life that you come from.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that that is great, and I've only heard it in basis, and I never really know what people are talking about
Mm-hmm.
because I've labeled it something completely different.
Yeah.
I've seen it as something really different
Mm-hmm.
in within myself,
Yeah.
in and out. Anyway, so if we take that a collection of candles in everything, everyone, you got a choice to ignore that, right?
Yeah.
And look past it, even though it has bursts of being quite obvious. And again, it's up to you whether you work with it or you don't. But again, anyway, so let's look at humans, and then let's look at other intelligent beings that are out in the universe. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think they would label it?
I don't know.
That inner light. So let's say they have their version of Jesus, spirituality,
Mm-hmm.
Christianity,
Yeah.
um, Islam. I don't know how many there are. Hindu.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's correct way. Uh, Jewish,
Judaism.
Judaism.
Yeah.
Okay, all of those, all
And
of
who
those.
knows what else is there?
Universal.
Yeah.
And then if we then say another species and another species and another species and another species, all of these species across all, let's say, I don't know, biomes within inside the overall biome
Yeah.
are all going to label this. Every single thing that is intelligent
Mm-hmm.
will follow a light. The ones that follow the light the most will be the more successful at reaching. I don't know. Some people can cheat ahead on this. So you take each step on the pyramid until you reach. There are two ways to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
One is in depth,
Yeah.
but lots of terms and conditions. Another one is a collective front that gets towards. So you got to understand it, right? It's so easy to control. It's easy. It's a
Mm-hmm.
piece of piss. But it's a challenge to lead people.
Yeah.
When you control people, there's a rebellion. There's always, keep looking throughout the whole history. There's always this level of push, 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 and then it becomes so great that then there's a rebellion. And it always falls down. As much as they'll try and claim that they are the same individuals who have run up through empire after empire, family bloodline after bloodline. Yeah, sure. Okie dokie. And you'll notice this sort of breakdown in humans, that the more you control, you start to notice this breaking down.
Yeah.
You notice it in today's world, really. If you
Mm-hmm.
take a look around, how many people are breaking down from that? How many people is it becoming so much fuck you sort of thing? Yeah, or whatever, mate, go do what you need to do sort of thing. How many people are beginning to break down from that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or some people would say, wake up.
Mm-hmm.
Breaking down is technically not it. I would say more so that they are leveling themselves up.
Yeah.
Groups are beginning to level themselves up. Other groups are beginning to, and this will continue on, and it will get faster and faster until the outcome is met, and it will be met.
Yeah.
Well, unless the course changes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So other life forms that are out there that follow the light,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
which you would say Lemurial then,
Mm-hmm.
and you keep following that, they would become more advanced, and therefore it wouldn't be so much as control, apart from there's a difference. Outside is controlling you, yes,
Yeah.
rather than the inside controls your reality. So at the moment in humanity's existence, what we've got is outside forces controlling your inner.
Yeah.
That's what's happening, okay? You go there, you do this, you do that, right? So we talk about this whole control structure. And that means that these groups, individuals, and everything else believe that they're on this higher pedestal that's more higher than the inners that drive you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking about individuals that go out and cause as much carnage as they possibly can. And then say, a voice made me do it. This made me... No, it didn't. It's just because you haven't sat with yourself and figured out why you did that. Why this happened like that. You know, you've got a reason, I'm sure. But whether it's justified enough, and therefore it's easier then, because you then have reflection on what you did. And then you'll look at that and think, shit, that one's not going to hold up. So in the moment before you did something, that seemed like a really fucking good reason to drive you to do that. Then after you did that, you then got reflection.
Mm-hmm.
And then that doesn't hold up. But what does hold up in society? I'm going to blame a voice. I'm going to blame this and I'm going to blame that. And actually, I find that quite sickening that you would blame something internal. Because, you know, how did they build the pyramids? How did the Mayans build the temples? How did they build these great big wonders? Yeah, because of this whole shitty thing that's been blamed now as crazy as a label, and as anything that's inside must make you really crazy, and it's all full of negativity, which helps their smokescreen, by the way. So when they've got criminals that come out and be like, it was a demonic entity, it was a voice inside made me do it, you know what? For modern humans, that is the most biggest... Yeah, count yourself out. That's what I'm going to say. Just count yourself out. You'll probably need some prayers and stuff, and you need to beg and grovel and do all the rest of it, which, see how far that gets you. And that's where prayers come from, by the way. People knew they did some very shitty things. And even then, when people wouldn't pray because they felt a bit weird for it, because it does feel weird, doesn't it? Unless you've been brought up into that, doing that. It, kind of, for me, it feels very strange to pray and seek forgiveness from the... That's not how it is. Prayer is words, lack of action. Okay? And doing your best, it will know that you're doing your best. Okay? And if you were facing outside resistance and everything else, that's their judgment, right? But the inner voice, that inner voice is what made your ancestors come together, made your ancestors share the load, made your ancestors respect the, not to over forage, not to over take the animals basically and eat and eat and eat and overeat. That inner voice, that inner light, that inner glow is what helped your ancestors walk from the dark times into the light times, is what helped them to carve, is what helped them to build, is what helped them to make shelter, is what helped them to find medicine, is what helped them to build the pyramids, if you want to keep on going with that, is what is helping humanity in shades of grey. It isn't empires, governments, and different things like that that are creating this world. It's the inner light within you. It's that inner voice. It's that craziness, right, that has been now used as quite something. Oh, look, this criminal over here. Oh, look, that criminal over there. Oh, look, this criminal over here. Whilst you're continuously labelling them as criminals, you might not be labelling certain things that this is doing that is, wow, same thing, but different name. This one's on steroids. This one's like a pinhead in an ocean. You know, murder's murder, is it not? Murder is murder. Wherever one side is glorified, one side is doing it for a reason, another side is doing it for a reason, but not a good enough reason. So, right. So again, here we are. Was it really these empires and different things like that that helped religions, without bad-mouthing religions, shades of grey, right? It's your choice to look at it how you want to look at it, right? It's not religions that found, let's say, the overall energy of the universe, the inner light. It's not religions that founded that. This came before. These were established. These were this or that. No, there's nothing more, in my understanding, that certain groups try and cash in off of this.
Yeah.
Try and cash in off of that. See, if it
Mhm.
weren't for us, you wouldn't have found this or this or this. Yeah, it's kind of nonsense because it wasn't there in the beginning.
Mhm.
It's like saying that education systems are the be all and end all of why children grow up to be educated. It's not. It's clear that this, without education, shows you that people built pyramids, built temples, knew how to carve, knew how to write, knew how to read. They were actually hiding things in pictures. The symbology is what it was. It's the most easiest language that a species would want to learn through all of their species is symbols. If you were all learning symbols, you would maybe start to look out into the universe and see the symbols that are everywhere. But to move you away from this symbology, it is to create some scribble and a language that is far more confusing, and this makes you look at this over here, so that then you never get to see that over there. Because that, seeing that, would melt down this. Now, I'm not saying that it's right nor wrong. I think a good government, although religion or different platform or anything else, can be highly beneficial if not corrupted.
Mhm.
Likewise. And, it's this inner transition of that light is guiding, but yet we are much more seeing that the physical world is what governs and guides you. Right? It's the system. If it weren't for this system, you wouldn't have this. You wouldn't have clothes on your back. You wouldn't have paint in your house. You wouldn't have a house. You wouldn't have benefits. You wouldn't have this. You wouldn't have the dentist. You wouldn't have that. You wouldn't have... It's basically saying, without saying it, see what we made for you?
Yeah.
And then, oh, okay, let's pray and bow down to this. If they were to die, and you were to die, and you were to go there with that story, and if it was to be put in front of you, well, which one do you think it was? Do you think it was that system? Do you think it was this? Do you think it was that? I mean, how would that look in the overall scheme of things? I was just cashing in off of... So no, other life forms that are out there, I can assure you, are being guided
Mhm. Yeah.
from the inners, and where humanity, and whether it's right or wrong, well, proof's in the pudding, right? We often hear leaders say that ET might come, ET disclosure, ET. Yeah, if you get to that stage, then which one is more advanced then? And if you're admitting that ET are going to come here, disclosure's coming, then what have you done that's different to them, that they have traversed? They haven't been seen. They've been covert.
Mhm.
They've maneuvered throughout the universe. They've found wonders that you can barely even begin to understand. And with all of this shit show around here, what have you got to amount for it? A mobile phone?
Yeah, that's why.
Money in a bank account?
That's why you see some UFOs only on painting of some old masters. You see some unusual objects in the sky now and then throughout the history. But it's something in the distance. It's something you don't know. That's why no
A
one would
polluted
come
world,
here. Yeah.
polluted rivers,
Yeah. Yeah.
deforestation.
Yeah. Who would want to come here?
Well, it's not about who would want to come here, which one listened to the light, and which one listened to the inner and put it into the outer, versus the ones that listened to the outer and put it onto the inner. So you're learning in society to take all of this, I want to call it good. You've taken all of this stuff. Smoking is acceptable. Marijuana is illegal. Smoking kills, but marijuana doesn't. This creates mental health, but apparently smoking doesn't, because smoking is this, that, and the other. Well, I would like to see them label this video with something. This is what they do. Maybe we'll have a few more distractions on the news as well. So you'll have all of this sort of stuff, and all of this is taken in from the outside and put inside you. That is acceptable, that is normal, that is great, this is... And then this inner light over here apparently is enough to govern everybody else's. And what have you got to show for it? Suppressed technology.
Yeah.
So only a few can have it. Mobile phone, bank account, debt.
Yeah.
Be grateful for the house. You've got a car. That's about it. And then, you know, they know. They're talking to you in a way that they know that ET are going to be far more advanced. Why? Because, well, we're going to think about it. Only in this amount of time has it actually, it's probably more like this compared to the overall this.
Yeah.
That it's been listened to. That the inner has been suppressed and the outer has been replaced into your inner. That's the way it is at the moment. And I think that's what people are beginning to wake up to. And then to say that all of this is good that we've taken out and put into the inner and say that it's good. Well, they've touched food supplies. Look at that.
Yeah.
They've almost destroyed it. They've brought in chemicals. Look at that. No one's governing it.
Yeah. Only when some people die from it, there is something.
No one is ever going to come out and admit that someone has died from chemical adverse reaction. That person died. They're never going to admit that. No one is ever going to admit that. That would never come about. Come on, if they will shadow ban certain things on videos and different things like that, there's no way they're going to release any of that. Okay? They can shut down downloading places. Each nation is controlled by an internet. That's the way it is. They can shut down different websites. If they can shut down websites, and that's gone back about, what, 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Then they were already shadow banning accounts. And making different people's accounts hidden and different things like that. Well, anybody that takes orders in that, you make the bed. You lay in it. You will have to square with that. You might want to start praying, although that will probably be pointless because it feels stupid. Because the inner is trying to tell you something, but you've spent so long believing the outer and bringing it into the inner. And now the outer has become the inner. And these people know more than your inner. And now there is listening to this type of talk over here from somebody else who may not have your best interests at heart, may not know the answer. And even if they did know the truth, oh dear, we might have a problem. How are we going to tell the truth now? Come on, there's things have been going on 100 years ago that they were doing that are only now coming out. And in that, those things back at the time, people were labelled as crazy loonies and all the rest of it. And they were labelled as conspiracy theories over 100 years ago. And they were shut down, ridiculed. Some were even hung for some of the things they were coming out with. And only now. But that doesn't stop the injustice that happened back then by a system that was supposed to be about justice. And it doesn't redeem all of those people that had to unnecessarily walk through all of that stuff for speaking the truth. They were ridiculed. And now we come to the same thing. Oh, it's the same tactics still being used. And again, by the same individuals that would say, this is what's going to happen. And yet, they're going to die like everybody else.
Exactly.
They know less than you do. Actually, the same. Let's say everyone's got the same equal. And then we start making out that it's about hierarchies and bloodlines and all of this shit. No, every single bloodline has made it that is here now. And there ain't no one bloodline over the rest. Let's be real about that, shall we? No bloodline is any different from the rest. Everybody has this same potential inside them. If you had more people, some people over here are a bit more interested in this and their inner light drives them to do this. Some people are here wanting to drive it in this. Some people are over here like this. Some people over here. And to call it a democracy, there's no such thing as a democracy when this one can't do this, these can't do this, these can't do this, these can't do this. And then it's all about we have to give money responsibly to people who are going to use it in a correct way. Said the ones that hold nuclear bombs, radiation at the highest level, the ones that are destroying the environment, said the ones that are polluting the rivers, near enough killing all the animals that are out, nature included. And that they've got to be the ones that have got to give money in a trustworthy way. With the businesses that are about today, not all, but most, that are cutting down forests faster than you can regrow them, that are destroying the air quality, that are doing experiments on individuals that are less than humanely questionable at best. That's putting it lightly.
Yeah, making plastics.
Mixing chemicals, mixing plastics, destroying the oceans, playing around with nature to the point where it's lacking in nutrients, taste, sweetness, sugars, and everything else, all because of money. The inner light is telling you that we need money and many zeros in a bank account. That only you are allowed a good life, and you are allowed a good life, and you are allowed a good life. Well, why is that? Well, look how much of the environment you destroyed. Here, let me give you some more zeros in that bank account. And then these same ones are like, you know, you see, I love the way, if you want to call it memorial, if you want to call it a soul contract, interesting.
Someone just came.
I love the way that it's so placid in these moments, because there's no need to be this sort of way now, because, you know, it would be manipulated, twisted, probably convinced otherwise, mentally trying twisted and all the rest of it, labeled as crazy and whatnot. So it just needs to wait until your hourglass has run and the last grain of sand has dropped through. And then you cross. Put back into the form that you were before you came here. As naked as the day you were born, but more naked because you won't have a body. But still. And right before it, you have taught it. It's tried to teach you. And in its same form, it created a planet. In its same form, it created a star. In its same form, it created the air that you breathe. In the same form, it created the animals that you eat. In the same form, it's created the nature. In the same form, it's created a lot of things for you to sit and exist in. And then you destroyed what it gave?
Doesn't make sense.
Not just for you, but it was in the beginning just for you. But also for countless other beings, many more that could continue on. And then there's the choice, isn't it? That's what the crux it comes down to. What choice did you have? Well, we inherited the world like this. Right you are. But then again, are we going to still keep getting the same outcome every time if we keep having the same individuals that are running the show, so to speak?
Especially when you see how it's going.
So there must be something in your cell memory that's passed down in your genes that says this destructive way is all you know. And is that destructive way healthy, helpful, or not? Because I know what it's like to change. I know it's a hell of a challenge, and I don't think everyone's got it in them. I really don't. To really try and change. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm just saying it's easier to quit. It's easier to give up. It takes a hell of a lot to change. To fight against all of your past, to fight against all of what you are, what you've been taught. All of that change, to move from that and stay your authentic self during a lot of storms, and to keep going in that is incredibly difficult. And I just don't think everyone is built the same way. Not saying it's impossible, but gee me. Whew. Proof's in the pudding, isn't it? The test. And I like the way that this thing stays very placid. In the fact that it's spent many, many years obscure, non-revealing itself. But then when it does in a transition through you, it's its power. It's power, full stop. And to remain in its true form, despite all of the different forms. Still remain guiding. Still remain loyal. Still remain understanding. Pissed off? Perhaps. Because it's what it's been taught. Because you teach it, it's trying to teach you. Hey, I want to keep you separate from my force. But at the same time, we've got to have this. Everyone says it's not about duality, we're all one. If you want to be one with that, then go back into the form that you came from. That means denounce all of that identity of what you are and that you've spent this whole lifetime trying to create yourself to be. And you want to identify as Terry. I want to keep my form, thank you very much. I want to be separate form to that and understand that that force is a very big teacher. With all of the other planets that it's had to harbour, all of the planets themselves, the stars, the universe, everything within it, and all of the individual interpretations that it could ever have been and ever has been and ever will go on to be. I think it knows best. And therefore, I would look at that as the highest teacher that I think I could ever learn from. And I'm willing for it to teach me in this form. Do I want to identify and spend this many years, however many it may have been? I think I want to go on to evolve further than just this place here. I don't want to become one with it. I want to be different. And I think deep down, it wants everyone to be different to it. If it wants an exact equal, this is where we get confused, right? Everyone says, got to be like Jesus, got to be exactly like Jesus, have the life of Jesus. If it wanted Jesus, it would make Jesus over and over and over again. It'd splice and splice and splice and splice and splice. Now you have multiple Jesuses running around, but that's not the objective. If it wanted the same, it would have all equal stars, all equal beings. But the problem is you get equal results. You get the same result. Nothing changes. Nothing evolves. No room for new. It's predictable. What's that? If it wants that, it would create it, but it doesn't. It wants you to create yourself with the gift you've been given called life. It wants to see what you can do. In essence, that is different to it. You have a piece. Whether that piece is going to be instilled with you, and you are going to identify as this form and go on to its collected, which it will view as separate to, and you will view yourself as separate as it. Yet you've both got something to teach one another. Back and forth. That is what the essence of it is after. Not this same as everybody else, carbon copy of everybody else, doing the exact same shit as everybody else, as the other life forms that are doing, everybody else. But yet we're forced here to do the opposite to what it wants. You'll pray to it, beg its forgiveness, become one with it, off back into the force, strip away everything that you've spent, however old you are, here, and that's what you know of so far. Me personally, I want to combine this knowledge here into my overall knowledge. Some of it I really don't want to know, but again, it might help me on my journey if I ever meet a life force that is equal to this again. oh, this is going to have taught me really well. So whether the outcome is successful or perhaps not, then at least I'm prepared for next time. Another form to go down and try and teach in with the subcategory of teaching. I want to gain that trust. Hunger for knowledge. This is never a wasted journey, whichever way it pans out. Never is. It's a wasted journey, not from this perspective it isn't, because, you know, at the end of it, what can I take from all of this experience? Well, if there is something that is probably worse than this, being humanity, then I will take this as tools for the next. At least that's worthy enough for me. That's good enough for me. That I can then utilize these tools to go in and try and help budge another group. And another group and another group. But ask yourself the question that what you should be doing to one another, and this is it, is seeing how much more you can make life live for longer. Not just certain bloodlines, everyone.
Everything.
And everything. You know, how many bloodlines have been lost with knowledge that was only made for that bloodline? You see, you won't learn this until later on. You're learning it now, but still, you still won't learn it. Okay? If you've got half your planet that is educated in a way that we understand education, that is able to play in the playgrounds of the universe. This is what these are, playgrounds. Learning grounds, playgrounds, and also the keep me grounds versus the not. Go back into the collective, strip away your identity if that's not what you want and you want to become one with it. Go and be one with it. That's, I'm sure you'll jumble into the soup. But your identity of who you are will be melted into it. Your identity will not come again. If that's what you're willing to get rid of, then that's up to you. I guess that's your journey and that's your decision to make. So whether you've got a choice in that or not, there's another part of it. If you do have a choice in it, then sure, go and melt into it and become something else that identifies as something else and never know of you being an identity here. And that's if. Because you've taught it how not to make something. It didn't work. This didn't work. No, thank you. No, thank you. Not what I'm after. Not what I'm after. That's the question, isn't it? What are you after? Everyone tells you what it is after. Everyone tells you, God, this is what God wants. This is what God wants. This is what Jesus wants. This is what God wants. Don't you anger God. Don't you anger this. Again, outside world telling your inside world rather than you sitting in yourself and thinking and asking in your own way what it wants. If you think it wants committing atrocities, murder all across the planet, forget it. War, battles and all the rest of it. No, stagnation, collecting money, forget it. Absolutely forget it. If you really think that, ask yourself that question. That's my interpretation of it. What bank account? What am I going to do with this? What am I going to? Where am I going to take all of this money? Learning how to build something, I'm guaranteed to see nature again, one form or another. Creativity, I'm going to take that with me. Knowledge, I'm going to take it with me. I'm going to take all of that with me. And you guarantee it. Your knowledge, my knowledge, any knowledge, the knowledge that I've learned off of other people whilst being here, I'm going to take all of this with me. And if my identity as myself is remained, and this goes into my collective knowledge, depends on how many times I've come down, well, either or, which whatever you believe, this is my interpretation of it, and your interpretation of it is cool. Whether you think that there's going to be a hell, no. Whether you think that it's going to be money that's going to go with you, throw money out into space and see what it does. Take your gold and fling it onto the moon and see what it does.
You will lay somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. But what's it going to do? What is it going to benefit for you? Well, I'm going to be able to buy this, buy that, buy this. Yes, because you are taught a world and you've put it into your head. Now it's become a belief. You've never seen a world that doesn't operate this way. But it doesn't mean that there isn't a world, in human understanding, a transformation that could evolve into a world where there is no money. Your ancestors did fine without it. Your ancestors did fine without the shiny, sparkly stuff. Emeralds, diamonds, glitter, gold, whatever. It did very well without it.
Yeah.
You can't imagine a truly free world. You just cannot imagine it, can you? It's very hard for you to imagine that what you want and what you want is out there and you could just go and get it. You could just go and build whatever you fancied. You got to understand something. How creative do you think this world was before money was invented and then the restrictions were placed on humanity? Every single one of you has been restricted. Like it or lump it, every single one of you has been restricted. That's me included.
Yeah.
You want to go and build a company somewhere? You watch how quickly someone takes this idea from you and starts building it. And they'll say, oh, it's not this. It hasn't been taken from you. You watch somebody else who's wealthy with it, go off and build it, run away and build it, and then piss it all up a wall anyway.
Yeah.
That's what they harvest off of you. Your understand. There's so much more I can release, but I don't. I choose not to. This stuff will only get you so far as greed. Greed is easy. That's an easy thing to fill in someone else's boots. It's really easy. But again, that's your understanding that when you go and it asks you what type of life you don't even need to answer it. It'll already know. But I hope it shows you what you lose. Because I think those final feelings that you get, that final energy, understanding that energy, I think that will give you your knowledge right before the very end. And then the true history is example. Why not to make this goes into a catalogue of why this should not be made. Understand X, Y, Z. And then that can be viewed by any of the collective at any time they want as to why this hasn't been, this whole light code is collected. And whether it's individually or humanity, or it's universally, and then how many cycles has this gone around? You think you'll come back here again? Deja vu, anyone? You've been here before, do you think? I think then when you begin to understand that this light code is being seen for all, that's why this won't happen this time, this way, next time. Let's say what happened this time won't go again. And then that becomes ghosted. And whether there is some sort of reliving in that ghostedness, then that means the knowing from start to finish, then really. You're just in a perpetual cycle. Just like balancing a plate on a stick. There's one, here's another, here's another, here's another. No, I'm not part of that plate. I want to be a part of the collective. I want to go and mingle with all the different variety of differences and the different beings and the different races and the different, all of that. I want to be in that difference. I want to be right with it. Not the same carbon copy of, and you got to look at where does this carbon cut come from? Well, your own race, right?
Yeah.
Be the same as your own race, yes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do we call that word again now here? It's called something, isn't it? It's called to be the reverse of just the one race, yeah? What is that called? Nationalist? No. It's something. If you not noticed the theme here, a running theme that you've all got to be exactly the same as one another.
Yeah.
Without ever questioning that. It's very interesting. I find all of this very interesting, to be honest. I just find it extremely interesting. And then you got to ask yourself, does the creator of all of this put more of its emphasis in one vessel? Does it ever walk among you? You'd probably nail it to a cross. Think about it.
Yeah, I see.
Do you think it ever sends its most experienced vessels that are collected, so therefore these would be prizeworthy to it, in order to try and further teach? These are like seen as the warnings.
I guess yes. I don't know.
Well, think about it. If it puts down its collective, yes, the ones that it's collected,
Yeah.
that are worthy enough to be collected, and then it sends these on a mission to come down and teach.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then these prize trophies, if you like, this would be a way that you would say it, I don't know, its finest specimens of what it can create, that is independent to itself, although being made up of itself, but being more independent, is dishonest or disrespected, dishonored or disrespected. Do you think that'll ever have a consequence?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I often wonder that. And then how much praying do you think you could do to try and convince that? Do you think there would be anything you could say or do?
No.
I think there is one thing:
What is that?
change. But do you think you'll make it to the collected? No, I think you'll go back to the battlegrounds at least and go again. Then perhaps that's probably where you'll understand a soul contract. There'll be brims and bursts of this premonition of another existence, let's say, that you did, that will just flash in you. And this is your wake up. You would have agreed to that. You will know what that means, but you will not admit it out loud. But you'll see it. Same place, same time, same feeling. You get deja vu an awful lot. See, deja vu can be coded into you as a meaning, but it can be dual meaning. It can have many meanings to it. All depends on what the deal is. Yes, and then you can say that that's the soul contract. You come down, you do this, blah, blah, blah. Unless you just believe that this is all a fluke as to why you're here, and you memorize things.
Memorize. How memorize?
You memorize things. This has been taken well advantage of. The only ones that do really well in school are the ones that have a great memory. Memorize the answers to questions.
Mm-hmm.
Give a kid a book that the teacher is teaching from and get them to memorize it. What about if you then, this is why they don't do that, but if you knew the exams, yes, and you were to get a paper for the exam, and you were to memorize all of those 100 pages, let's say, to the actual exam that's going to be taken at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Yes? Can you memorize that whole entire exam paper
Yeah.
and then write all the answers flawlessly with an added twist to it?
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Then would you get a high grade?
Yeah.
Based on what?
Memorization.
Well, that would be then intelligence. Think about it. Do you memorize the English language in order to know how to spell it?
Yeah.
Okay, so then if you were able to spell really well, I can give you a high grade based on nothing more than you memorizing Scribble. Now you could do it in native tongue. Czech Republic, do you memorize the words there? In order to know how to spell them, talk them, think them.
You have to memorize the language somehow, don't you?
What do you mean somehow? Everyone is doing this day in and day out.
Yeah, the first, yeah.
How many people know how to talk? That's practically everybody,
Yeah.
yes? Do you know one person in this society that doesn't know how to talk?
No.
So that would be a statistic that everybody knows how to memorize then, yeah?
Yeah.
So they know how to talk and communicate. That is memorization, yes?
Yeah.
Birds memorize how to sing songs.
Yeah.
So memories
Mhm.
are 100% then, if you want to put it that way, apart from certain defects and other things. But across the board, 100% people know how to memorize a language in order to talk it.
Mhm.
What do you think is collected off of you when you pass on? What do you think comes with you?
Memory?
Do you remember your first amount of money you ever received?
No.
Do you know how much money you have ever had in your lifetime?
No.
Interesting. Pointless stuff doesn't make any sense, does it? But a language, you know.
Yeah.
Then how many languages have ever been spoken? Do you reckon? In the whole of this existence of any other life forms, the ones that you know of and don't know, then how many languages are on this planet right now, going on right now? And some people will say, oh, only this many because how many nations are there? No, I'm on about animals. I'm on about body language. I'm on about conversations that are happening with ant colonies or bee colonies. Again, bee colonies, ant colonies. Weird. Humans are like bees and ants, but no animalistic, please. Animals belong in a prison. You can't fight like animals. Come on, look.
Then
You go to war instead.
Then you have fish that talk
Fish,
differently.
dolphins.
Yeah, the schools of fish and groups of animals somewhere else that live in groups.
And then how many memories do you think are all happening and being stored right now? Every single, right, since the dawn of humanity. No, the Earth. Terra. Gaia.
I don't think you can count it. Can you?
So we could say water memorizes, stars memorize.
Yeah.
The universe memorizes how to make stars then.
Yeah.
Black holes know just amount, or dark energy knows just amount to press on the star. To memorize it equally for each star, and then knows if the star is bigger to press more. Electromagnetism knows when to kick in. This is all memorized. Rocks know how to stay rocks. They remember this. Sand knows how to be sand. It memorizes it. There's a knowing so that it knows how to be what it is. That
Planets
destined to be.
remember their orbits and stuff like that.
So how many memories then, when we look at it this way, do you think? What do you think is the most prized memory? What do you think you store and take with you? Your guns, your military, your armies, your planes, your tanks, or your knowledge? Knowledge.
Yeah.
Clearly, if a rock knows how to be a rock,
Yeah.
and when it's exerted with this much pressure, you will break apart like this. Therefore, it knows.
Yeah.
Then it knows how to store that memory in order to stay in that
Yeah.
current broken, and then knows how to be broken in those shards. That's memorization. Then the other stars in the nebula know with those composition what type of star it's going to form, what type of planet it is going to make out of those. The gases memorizes this to be here, to be there, to do this, to do this. And then it also, water needs to know about space in order to separate in it. Memorization. Even water holds memory. Therefore, there's knowing and then there's memorization, right?
Yeah.
So therefore, there's knowledge. Humans are a little bit different when it compared to, let's say, stars and different things like that. Their memory, humanity, I should say, and any beings that have been awoken have been given a gift and a little bit more freedom than most other things.
Yeah.
Yes. Just a smidge. But in comparison to this, living in this experience, it seems like quite a lot.
Yeah.
The mind knows no bounds, right?
Yeah.
Which it does. It knows no bounds back and forth. And again, when we were talking about atom computers, right?
Yeah.
Where you take an atom and you splice it, and one spins, the other one spins, the other one spins the other way, the other one spins the other. Yes, no matter whether you got it on Jupiter and here, when you spin one, and if it was put into a computer that was able to read these rotations, memory, being spun one way to another, to another, to another, how do you not know that you're not a splice, which you are, from that overall universal light, if you want to call it that, which it is. It looks like Lumirial is what I would call it. The universal, again, it's a divot. It's very hard to be whether it is what I'm seeing it as in its true form, and whether you see it in its true form. Shut your eyes, you see the light. Everyone sees the light. Perhaps you don't register it the same way, or it's just nothingness in the nothingness. You see the light in the universe. Again, light. Light is what it is. So therefore, light loves darkness. It's weird, isn't it? Isn't that very strange to say that? But not darkness in the terms of evil, Okay, the darker it is, the brighter it shines. Do you get what I mean? So when you close your eyes, it's very dark, but you do see a light there. The light becomes clear with the more inky black that it is. Therefore, you don't realize how dark it is when it gets dark. When we say it gets dark, it technically doesn't because of scatter on the atmosphere. But if we were to remove the sun or cloak it instantly, the stars would become very much more brighter to you. The darker it is, or appears to be, the stars light, little light, becomes more brighter. So if you've been in a cave for a long period of time and then come out, oh my days, right? And some people back in the times of mining for coal that would come out of the coal mines, some of them would be blind horses, some of the horses would go blind as well, being born in the darkness. And then there's Charles Bonnet syndrome. I think I have this all the time. It never goes away. And it's not just blind people that experience Charles Bonnet syndrome. No. If they really knew what that was, you know, and Lemurial, oh my days, that's the closest thing I can understand what that universal. Now, it's a divot because it can be many things. Why do I call it a divot? Well, I know it's a divot because it can become the star, it can become you, it can become someone else, it can become an animal, it can become nature, it can become rock, it can become water. So all of these things and more. All of this. And then where's the knowing come from? It can also be separated from itself, which is really interesting. Again, splicing, understanding splicing and splices runs along this. If you want to be separate from it, then you've got to prove you're worthy in some way and trustworthy enough. There's never any trust, really, is there? Nothing is trustworthy and can't have any trust because we've got to trust. And then you are given the trust to not poison the foods, to not overgrow this, to not lose the nutrients, to trust in you, to trust in this, to trust in that. You can trust in money, but you can't trust in this. Can you trust in the money to buy some product that is decent without chemicals in it? If you wanted a choice, and they say if you're given a choice in a democracy, you've got some companies that are buying poisonous chemicals from others and putting it into their products, but because they didn't put it in themselves, you know, that means that we're trustworthy. Trust that brand. Brand. I don't know. Very interesting. And then that is, again, that is testing, isn't it? That's a test. It's not a test whether you're testing with other humans, because by and large, when you die, you're not going to be dying with other humans. You're going to be dying as yourself, and you are not going to be sorted with other humans. You are going to be you. Everything's a now moment, and this thing can divide itself up pretty well, so it can be seeing you and multiple other things all at once. It can multitask like you would never understand, and even from a human you to even be able to comprehend that, to even be able to visualize how multitasking it can do, amount of different things that it can do all in one simulus different. Oh man, it's incredibly powerful. And you think that you're going to be dying with other people?
No.
So who are you really benefiting from that trust from then? Yourself, other humans? No. It. How trustworthy if you can't even be trusted among other humans on your own planet, your own kind, your own nation, your own flag, your own where you are residing with other people?
Yeah.
How trustworthy can you be in any other setting?
Yeah, if you are harmful to those that are the same origin and to those who live on the same place
And then, how trustworthy can you be if I put you into another biome? We're going to destroy it? You're going to teach them this control structure? Controlling is easy.
Yeah, most likely.
There is limited control. Yes, I understand that there is a need for control. It's a very fine art. But is there a need to control yourself when it comes to putting horrible things inside food? Yes. Is there comes a time where you need to control to say that you must not kill somebody else? Yes. Is there a control where it says that you will not destroy the environment? Is there a need for it? I'd say yes.
Yeah.
But that should become natural.
Yeah.
It used to be instilled into all humans, but it's been removed.
Yeah. The society.
Because what's being put ahead of it? Money.
Yeah.
Not just money, because if we were to remove money, it would move to something else. It's not being faced head on.
Yeah.
It's a lack of respect.
Yeah.
Lack of respect for one another. Lack of respect for the environment. Lack of right. This all boils down to lack of respect.
Yeah.
If you can't respect other people in other nations, in other places, in other cultures, in other this, then you would never last a day with a collective that has been going on for however many cycles you want. What do you need to know how many cycles it's been? It's a big number. And then how many individuals have been collected, and how many differentiations of its version or alternate versions of whatever it can create with inside this physical versus the quantum versus this, and how many how different can it look to one another? Do you understand? From hermaphrodites, just to name a few, to having life forms that don't build the same way you do. You'd never be able to cope with it. Why? Well, because you didn't cope with it here. So why are you going to cope with it there? Yeah, but because this is the after. Come on, I need to lick your ass, you know? I know how to lick ass. If I lick your ass, you'll put me in there. Right, but it is though, yeah? I'm going to kiss your ass and tell you everything you want to hear. Just put me in there. I'll deal with it. But how could you not deal with it here? The proof's already in the pudding. You don't need to answer it.
Yeah.
Well, they don't look like me, therefore they are not worthy. But it was different. But it was because it was. No.
No, it's not different, is it?
And then I guess we could have the Scrooge moment, right? I've turned over a new leaf. Look, I do this, I buy this, I'm going to give you this. Charles Dickens, if it is a story from Charles Dickens, man, get me wrong. Yeah, he hits a nail on the head without actually saying it. The change.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think he wanted to say more with that, but I think he captures it in a very beautiful essence. The way he delivers that through a story is very creative. In fact, that is very impressive, to be honest. The way that is, he's very close. Very close. If not, he might have knew more, but at the time, probably in fear of ridicule, being, very, you can see here the way it is. Religious persecution was one. Now we've got governmental persecution, is what we live in today.
Yeah.
That's the same as what churches were doing, as this were doing.
Yeah.
And to say that it's different from religion, like some of them will say, well, we're not part of religion, we don't do this, we don't do that, we don't do that, we're more better than it, and we leave this at the door, or whatever, it might not be any better than. I don't agree with that personally, but, just some of the things, my interpretation of what I see, it's, you do exactly the same. That's exactly the same. It really is exactly the same. Really, the persecution on all of that, and
just based on different criteria.
Yeah. And what it is now, it doesn't mean that it's all broken. It means, how can this evolve is a better question that you could ask yourself. Any of you, anyone, anywhere can ask, how can I evolve into a better? How can I evolve this system into something that is more better? Because once you evolve into that, no one can hold it against you, and the system will stand in strength of itself. It doesn't need protecting in this way. People can say what they want because they'll know the truth that it evolved. And it evolved for the betterment of everybody in that. Draw the line with murderers, rapists, and all the rest of it, pedophiles, whatever. Yeah, draw the line with that. But again, looking at that head on is to, how can we evolve that thinking? How can we evolve that? Everybody's got this preference that is so beyond anything. I mean, ooh, looks. Ooh, looks. Ooh, looks. Yeah. Let's just go and educate you one more time about aging process, right?
Yeah.
In this aging process, we are not going to look like stallions. Is it stallions?
Yeah.
Stallions for the whole of our life. We are going to change and look very different. Hence, within the differences across nations, this changing differences is to test you to see whether you can cope with differences. In the difference
Mm-hmm.
because there is a lot of differences. There's a lot of different ways to cook up life.
Yeah.
Yes, many.
Mm-hmm.
But if we believe in this only Earth understanding narrative, that there's only humans, only Earth, center of everything, this is what you get.
Yeah.
Therefore, it moves away from. So yeah, I just leave these as open-ended. I think, how can we transition this? How can we transform this into something that works for everybody?
Mm.
Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. And then following the light.
Yeah.
Not all light projects are going to be very good. I think there's learning curves on all of that. But the question is, what happens if it transitions to allow for some of this outer worldly stuff to be put into inside, but incorporate it
Mm-hmm.
with the light?
Yeah.
I think would be better if we can plat the two together in a way, and this outer versus inner, and then what the body is capable of doing, and plat these all together like DNA.
Mm.
Strand it together
Mm-hmm.
so that there's a bit more freedom on the creative light. And then, why would you want to do that? Because it's very beneficial for overall everybody. Now, we might not just have these being created, it could be a lot of other stuff. Getting out into space, running from extinction, no longer running from. Be well ahead of that. You know, being able to foresee it means to be able to do things now rather than wait for that moment to be knocking on the door while everyone's in fight or flight mode. Becomes very, very, very chaotic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Want to be already prepared for it.
Yeah.
They're the types of things to be desensitized to, not chemicals. They're the questions that I would ask, but very much more quality questions, aren't they? And I think that it helps to niche everybody into the same weave. Plait. I like plaits. They're very strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Well, plaited hair from your ancestors would sacrifice hair
Yeah.
in order to tie things.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yes, utilizing large trees that grow pretty quick
Mm-hmm.
and giving them all of the nutrients that they could possibly need by learning the tree in order to get them to grow pretty tall, in order to use these to pull up more material to build things up. It's very interesting. Trees were such the building blocks of everything. If you think about it.
Yeah.
And trees that were so big that they couldn't cut them down, but they could carve into them. It's interesting as well. And then
Yeah,
they found
they
out
do.
how carve-worthy they were. But they also used the trees to be able to build things, to stack things up that got higher and higher. And the strength of the tree that was really rooted in, that you could pull all of this up. Then once the building object or whatever it may have been that has been built was then cut down. And in its wake was a big building from the tree, but they never forgot the tree that, or the trees that stood in order to help them build things. It's absolutely beautiful, to be honest. But again, I like Japan's take on it. I think it's Japan, or is it in Korea? I don't know. Somewhere I was looking and I saw somewhere where they were moving trees. Old trees, they would move them rather than cut them down.
Yeah.
I think this is impressive. That is very impressive things to do. And that I like. That is living in your environment, with your environment. That's, rather than chop it down, move it. I haven't asked that question. Is it possible to move it? Yeah, but it takes time. Do you know how much money that is? All right, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know if you keep cutting these down, do you know how much extinction that is? Yeah, we favor money over extinction. Better air quality versus it's interesting. It's a very interesting thing. And as much as I like cities in some way, I do and I don't. I can't draw the line on either. But this stuff generates an awful lot of heat. It's changed the landmass quite a bit.
Yeah.
Therefore, the dynamics of Earth heats up a city. This heat has got nowhere to be dispersed, not much like it is in trees. Cities are much built up so that they've got fences everywhere. Therefore, there's this targeted amount of sunlight that causes heat that's undisturbed and rises up. Then when you come to the countryside and it's supposed to be a hot day, but there's hedges and everything else nearby, the wind that moves across, therefore the land doesn't seem to get as hot in the areas, but yet concrete very hot in those areas, and it really does, yeah. And then this stuff also goes on to radiate. It's like a giant storage heater. Although we don't look at cities, houses, or anything else like that, they're like giant storage heaters. They charge up with heat. Pyramids is a good one. It might be very cold on a desert, but inside that, pretty damn warm. It holds the heat well. Therefore, it acts like the first storage heater in heat in rock. It's very, very interesting, to be honest. But again, that side of it, there's nothing that breaks that heat, let's say, and it's just baking that concrete. Much like your phone is probably getting very hot right now. Yeah. Right, let's run this one down. It's been very enjoyable. I've enjoyed myself with these last couple of videos. I'm grateful to the whole journey and the way this all opens out. I like it. It's been nice. Yeah, so I just want to get that one in there. But yeah, I could go on forever about this and many different things. But you know, better run it down. It's probably getting late. I reckon it's around 3:15.
No, you are an hour.
Oh, so it's about 2, is it?
No.
4.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
4:14.
So how long has this video gone on for?
Hour and 6 minutes.
So about 3 o'clock-ish?
Yeah, from around 3. Yeah.
Yes, I often notice this around this 3 o'clock ratio. There's something, I don't know. Nocturnal. Family has travelled, so I've probably come from a place where this would be during the day. I wonder if it'd be any different if I was on the other side of the globe and we'd be meeting at 3 o'clock in the afternoon type. Would that have been when I was a bit more... I wonder what time would be, or where it'd be 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so to speak, and it would be day. I wonder if that gives me an indication as to where I'd be. Origin, and then I wonder if I were to take a DNA ancestral test, whether it would lure me back to that area before I got the results, if you like. And then on that geographical location, based on how active the mind becomes at that time, whether my family moved away from that area and came here, and therefore my nocturnal thinking is clear, if you like. I often wonder where the nocturnalness sort of originates from. I don't like to say that it was up at night most of the time. No, I think that perhaps the family bloodline comes from an area where it would be daylight now.
Yeah.
It feels it to me. And then I wonder if this could be proved with a DNA test, whatever it may be, and then find out where your family roots come from, and then it'd be like, aha, well, see, there was something there.
Yeah, could be. Yeah.
Something in that mapping. You never think that way, but some people that are just night creatures would say here, oh, I'm just a night person. Are you sure you're a night person, or your family didn't come from the other side of the world and migrated here back in many, many ions, and therefore, you know, it's like taking an owl, yes? What happens if you take an owl from Britain and take it to a nation that has owls, and it has a suitable climate for it, and then you put it into that nation, the other side of the world? How would its body clock? Would it still be nocturnal, or would it get up in the day? It's a very interesting question that I would ask. And then over its evolution, would its generations act? Hello, oh, I'm up in the day. Well, these owls are up in the day because they're day owls. It would probably be believed after ions, but it's not really true. And then if you took an owl from that nation and brought it here, would it be the same? Up in the day, sleep at night. That nocturnalness there is it that, or is it that?
Is it that? Is it not?
Some people sleep better in the day and are more active at night. And then I wonder if people in the other side of the world are probably more active in the same way and feel that, yeah, I feel like this. Yeah, I wonder if it's because of all this travel and different things like that perhaps you're just a bit more aligned to this environment and you would thrive more here versus there versus... I often wonder that. I'm very curious about that. And again, you know, without data and no experiment done, I mean, this is something that I'm very interested in. Yes. It just makes me wonder. I often question things and don't just accept it that it's because you're a night owl or something like that. Someone says that you're a night owl or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, right, let's leave it here. Anyway, beautiful video, beautiful time. Loved it.